This message found you for a reason. If you are watching this right now, stop for a moment and really think about how you got here. There are millions of videos online, thousands of messages you could have clicked instead, but somehow at this exact moment in your life, you ended up here. And that may not be an accident, because sometimes God speaks to people in quiet ways, not through loud signs or dramatic moments, but through small things that appear at exactly the right time. A message, a moment, a feeling that something inside you needed to hear these words today. Maybe you were scrolling without thinking. Maybe you almost skipped this video. Maybe something inside you even told you not to watch. But you're still here. And before this video ends, something is going to make sense in your life in a way it didn't before. Something you've been struggling with. Something you've been questioning. Something you've been carrying silently, because there are moments when God reaches people exactly when their heart is ready to listen. And if you are watching this right now, there is a reason this message found you today. So take a breath, slow down for a moment, and listen carefully, because the next few minutes may reveal something you were meant to hear. Sometimes in life there comes a moment when everything feels quiet, but inside your mind, nothing feels settled. You keep going through your days. You keep doing what you're supposed to do. You wake up, handle your responsibilities, speak to people, move through your routine. But deep down, there's this feeling that something isn't quite right. Not necessarily wrong, just unfinished. Like a question that hasn't been answered yet. And the strange thing is, most people around you would never notice it. From the outside, your life may look completely normal. But inside your heart, you know something is shifting. Maybe you've been thinking more about your life lately. Thinking about where you're going. Wondering if you're truly on the path you're supposed to be on. Wondering if the struggles you've been facing actually mean something. Or if you're just stuck in a season that feels endless. These thoughts don't appear randomly. Very often when people start asking deeper questions about their lives, it means something inside them is waking up. It means their spirit is beginning to search for direction. Because there are moments when God begins to move in someone's life long before they can see what is changing. He begins by placing questions in their heart. Questions about purpose, questions about meaning, questions about whether the life they are living right now is the life they were meant to live. And when those questions start appearing, people often think something is wrong. They think they're confused, but sometimes confusion is simply the beginning of clarity. Sometimes the moment you start questioning everything is the moment you are being guided somewhere new. And if that feeling has been growing inside you lately, if you've been sensing that something in your life is shifting, even if you can't explain it, that may be exactly why this message found you today, because what you're about to hear next may describe something that has already been happening in your life without you even realizing it. Let's talk about the first sign. The first sign that this message may be meant for you is a feeling that something in your life is beginning to change. Not necessarily on the outside yet, but inside. It starts quietly. You begin noticing that things which once felt normal no longer feel the same. Conversations feel different. Places that once felt comfortable suddenly feel empty. Even routines you've followed for years start to feel heavier than they used to. At first, it's difficult to explain. Nothing dramatic has happened. Your life may look exactly the same as it did before, but something inside you feels restless. Almost like a quiet voice deep inside your spirit is saying, "There's more than this." And that feeling can be uncomfortable, because when your life begins shifting internally before it changes externally, it creates a strange tension. You start sensing that the direction you've been moving in may not be where you're meant to stay forever. You may begin questioning things you never questioned before, the people around you, the choices you've made, the future you once thought you wanted. And when this happens, many people assume something is wrong with them, They assume they're just overthinking, but sometimes that feeling is not confusion. Sometimes it's awareness, because one of the ways God begins redirecting someone's life is by changing what their heart is comfortable with. Things that once satisfied you begin to feel shallow. Things that once distracted you begin to lose their power. And slowly, without you even realizing it, your spirit begins searching for something deeper. Many people experience this moment right before a major shift in their life, right before new doors open, right before new direction appears. But the reason it feels uncomfortable is because you're standing in between two seasons, the life you've been living and the life you're about to step into. And that space in between can feel uncertain. But if this is something you've been experiencing lately, if you felt that quiet restlessness growing inside you, it may not be random. It may be the first sign that something new is already beginning to move in your life. And the next sign might feel even more familiar. The second sign that this message may be meant for you is that something in your life recently fell apart. Maybe it was a relationship you believed would last. Maybe it was a friendship you trusted. Maybe it was a plan you worked toward for months, or even years. Whatever it was, when it ended, it left you with a question that kept repeating in your mind. Why did this have to happen? Because when something breaks in our lives, our first instinct is to see it as failure. We replay the situation again and again, wondering what we could have done differently. Wondering if we said the wrong thing, trusted the wrong person, or made the wrong choice. But sometimes, what feels like rejection is actually protection. There are moments when God removes something from your life, not because you did something wrong, but because that situation was never meant to go where your life is going next. And in the moment, that removal hurts, because loss always hurts, even when what we lose wasn't truly meant for us. But many people only understand this later. Months later, sometimes years later, they look back and suddenly realize something they couldn't see before. They realize that the door that closed wasn't stopping their life, it was redirecting it. There are paths that look good at the beginning, but would have led you somewhere you were never meant to stay. There are people who walk beside you for a season, but were never meant to walk the entire journey with you. And sometimes God allows those chapters to close in ways that feel confusing, because if they ended quietly, we might never have had the courage to move forward. So if something recently ended in your life, something that left you feeling confused, hurt, or questioning everything, there is a chance that what felt like the breaking of something important may actually have been the clearing of space for something new to enter your life. Something you may not see yet, but something that may already be moving closer than you realize. And if the first two signs felt familiar, the next one might feel even more personal. The third sign that this message may be meant for you is that lately you've been searching for answers. Not just small answers about daily life, but deeper ones. Questions that show up late at night when everything around you finally becomes quiet. Questions like, what am I really meant to do with my life? Or, why do I feel like there's something more waiting for me? Sometimes these questions come after a difficult season. Other times they appear even when life seems calm on the surface. But once they start appearing in your mind, they don't easily disappear. You begin noticing that your thoughts are different than they used to be. You start reflecting more, thinking more carefully about the choices you're making, about the direction your life is moving, about whether the things you're chasing are truly the things that matter. And that kind of searching can feel confusing, because when you start asking deeper questions about your life, it often means you're standing at the edge of a new chapter, even if you can't see what that chapter looks like yet. Many people go through life never stopping long enough to ask those questions. They move from one routine to another, from one distraction to the next, never pausing long enough to truly listen to what their heart is trying to tell them. But when someone begins searching for meaning, searching for direction, searching for something greater than the life they've been living, it often means something inside them is waking up. And sometimes that awakening happens quietly. It doesn't come with loud signs or dramatic moments. Instead, it begins with a simple feeling and a quiet awareness that the life you're living right now may only be the beginning of the life you were meant to live. And if you've been feeling that lately, if you've been asking those deeper questions and wondering where the answers might come from, it may not be random. Sometimes the search itself is part of the guidance, because when someone begins searching sincerely, they often begin noticing things they would have missed before. Messages, moments, signs that something in their life is beginning to move in a new direction. And the next sign might be something you've already felt, even if you didn't recognize it at the time. The fourth sign that this message may be meant for you is something much quieter than most people expect. It doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't appear as some dramatic moment that changes everything overnight. In fact, many people almost miss it completely, because it shows up in the middle of ordinary moments. But if you think back over the last few days, or maybe even the last few weeks, there may have been small moments where something inside you suddenly felt calm, even though your life hasn't completely changed yet, even though the things you've been worried about are still there. Maybe you were alone for a moment. Maybe you were driving somewhere. Maybe you were just sitting quietly, letting your thoughts slow down for a second. And in that moment, something inside you shifted. For a brief second, the anxiety faded. For a brief second, the weight you've been carrying didn't feel as heavy. And there was a quiet feeling inside your heart that said, somehow things are going to be okay. You might not have understood why you felt that way. You might not have had any logical reason to feel peaceful at all, but the calm was there anyway. Many people overlook moments like this because they're waiting for something louder. They expect guidance to feel dramatic, something obvious, something impossible to ignore. But very often the way God reassures people is through quiet moments that happen in the middle of ordinary life. A moment of calm when your mind finally slows down. A sudden thought that feels comforting. A feeling of reassurance that appears without explanation. These moments may only last a few seconds, but they carry meaning. Because peace doesn't always come after everything in your life is solved. Sometimes peace arrives before the solution ever appears. Sometimes it shows up as a reminder that even though you can't see the entire path ahead, you are not walking through it alone. And when those small moments happen, they are often easy to dismiss. You might tell yourself it was just your imagination. You might brush it off and move on with your day, but moments like that can be reminders that something is happening behind the scenes in your life, even if you can't fully understand it yet. Sometimes the path ahead begins to shift long before the results become visible. Sometimes doors are being prepared before you ever see them open. And those quiet moments of peace may be the first sign that something is slowly unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. Because when guidance begins to appear in someone's life, it rarely happens all at once. It happens step by step, moment by moment, little reminders that appear exactly when they're needed. And if you've been feeling those quiet moments lately, even if they only lasted for a short time, they may not be random at all. They may be a gentle reassurance that the path ahead of you is already beginning to move, even if you haven't seen the full picture yet. And that leads to the final sign, the one that many people only recognize when they are standing right on the edge of something new. The fifth sign that this message may be meant for you is a feeling that something in your life is about to shift. You may not know exactly what it is. You may not have clear answers yet. But deep down, there is a strange sense that something is moving, even if you cannot fully see it. Sometimes it feels like you are standing on the edge of something new. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way where everything suddenly makes sense, but in a quiet way. Like the next chapter of your life is slowly getting closer. Many people experience this feeling during the most uncertain seasons of their lives, because right before something begins to change, there is often a moment where everything feels unclear. It's like standing on a road early in the morning when the fog hasn't lifted yet. You know the road continues ahead, You know there is somewhere to go, but you can't see the full distance yet. And that uncertainty can feel frustrating. It can make you feel like you're stuck, like nothing is moving forward. But sometimes what looks like stillness is actually preparation. Sometimes the reason things haven't moved as quickly as you hoped is because certain things had to happen first. Lessons had to be learned. Strength had to be built. Understanding had to grow. Because when something important begins in someone's life, it often requires the person to become someone new first, someone stronger, someone wiser, someone more prepared than they were before. That preparation doesn't always feel comfortable. It can feel slow, it can feel confusing, and sometimes it can even feel lonely. But preparation is rarely obvious while it's happening. It only becomes clear when you look back and realize how much you've changed along the way. So if you've been feeling like you're standing in a strange season where things feel uncertain, if you've felt like something is shifting but you can't quite explain what it is, you may not be stuck at all. You may simply be standing right before a moment of change, right before a door opens that you could not see before. And sometimes the only thing someone needs to do in that moment is keep moving forward, one step at a time. Because when the time is right, the next part of your path becomes clear. And when it does, you'll realize that everything you walked through before that moment was leading you here. If you've stayed with this message until this moment, there is something important you need to understand. The struggles you've been facing in your life may not be random. Sometimes when people look back over their life, they begin to notice a pattern they couldn't see before. Moments that once felt like setback suddenly start making sense. Situations that once felt unfair begin to reveal a purpose they didn't understand at the time. Because the truth is, many of the things that shape us the most in life are the things we once wished had never happened. The difficult seasons, the moments when you felt alone, the nights when your mind was full of questions and you didn't know who to talk to. Those moments can feel incredibly heavy while you're living through them. But they also shape something inside you. They build strength you didn't know you had. They deepen your understanding of yourself. They change the way you see the world and the way you see the people around you. And sometimes those difficult seasons are the very moments that prepare someone for the life they are meant to step into next. Because the person you are becoming is not the same person you were a year ago. The things you have walked through have changed you. The questions you've asked have shaped your perspective. The struggles you've faced have built a level of awareness that many people never develop. And even if you can't fully see where your life is going yet, it doesn't mean your path has disappeared. Sometimes the path ahead is still forming. Sometimes things are being arranged in ways you cannot see yet. Opportunities, encounters, moments that will appear in your life at exactly the time they are meant to. But the most important thing to remember is this: your story is not finished. No matter how confusing your current chapter may feel, no matter how uncertain things look right now, your story is still unfolding. And sometimes the reason you are still here, still searching, still listening, is because the next part of your journey is closer than you realize. Which brings us to the final message.